So today I thought it'd be cool to talk about three systems that are old but amazing and will still produce high quality cinematic results even though they've been on the market for quite some time, in some cases like over a decade. The first system we're looking at here is the Panasonic GH5 or GH5s. An issue that some people have with this system, and the next system I'm going to talk about, is that it's a micro four thirds sensor. I've never been a hater of crop sensor cameras. I'm not really sure what the big issue is with them. They shoot amazing looking footage. The smaller sensor actually has some advantages, particularly in the newer Panasonics. You have incredible in-body stabilization, which is like GoPro level excellence. So I'm going to focus more on the GH5s because that's a system that I actually owned, had for many years, used it a lot. It was kind of my everyday run and gun DIY cam. I also did shoot a feature film on it, Skinwalker, which I've talked about before. So it's a great system that I can personally attest to just how awesome it is. Even by today's standards, it's got a dual base ISO for incredibly amazing low light performance considering the size of the sensor. It's a 800 and then goes all the way up to 5,000 for your second ISO, and I've used it. It's pretty freaking cool. I mean, is it A7S III good? No, but considering the price difference, you can pick up one of these for a little over $600 on some places like KEH, used on Adorama, used on B&H, eBay probably the cheapest, but the most risky. Again, just a really cool, great build quality, great system, love it. A couple things to keep in mind about the GH5s as opposed to the GH5, which is you probably get it around the same similar price point now. There's no in-body stabilization in the GH5s. The autofocus on both systems is really bad. Just consider it a manual focus camera if you get it, because in fact, all the cameras I'm going to talk about today, the autofocus on all of them is terrible. And the other two cameras, it doesn't even really exist. But in this one specifically, yeah, it has autofocus. It's called a contrast-based autofocus, and it's not good. So just consider it a manual camera, but if you do that, you can get amazing results out of it. 10-bit internal 422, which is basically your standard codec for most video recording on like Sony cams or modern Panasonics and what have you. It does 12-bit external recording as well, which is an amazing feature for a camera that's a few years old. And again, at that price point, I just don't think you can go wrong. Like I said, the only drawback to you might be the lens mount, but again, I just feel like with the deal you could get on quality micro four thirds glass today, I think the pros really outweigh the cons. So that's the GH5s, great little system, can't recommend it enough. The next system is a personal favorite of mine. Love this system. I've loved every pocket camera that Blackmagic's made ever since the OG Pocket, as it's called now. This is the Pocket. It's actually pretty big, but it's the Pocket Camera 4K. And it still retails for almost $1,000 or a little under that, I think, but you can find these for around that $600 price point if you know where to look. 12-bit internal RAW, it's amazing. It also shoots ProRes, which some of the newer Blackmagics don't do. Some people prefer ProRes. Personally, B-RAW is the way to go. Little secret, buy it used or not, you still get a DaVinci Resolve license. Sad to say for people who sold their cameras like I did and thought I could maintain my license, you can't, because the license is tied to the serial number in the camera. So in order to get the license to get a free copy of DaVinci Resolve, all you need is the camera body. You know, it's your camera. It should be your DaVinci license as well. So keep that in mind. It's just an excellent system. The color fidelity, showing you some examples here of some of the things that I've shot. It's just a beautiful quality camera. It's a little lackluster in build quality, and that's the one thing I would be a little bit cautious about, because these cameras can brick on you. And as far as getting it used, I would be careful. I'd make sure it doesn't have a tremendous amount of hours on it, because, yeah, I mean, it's a plastic body. They're known to sometimes have issues when they get up there in hours. They don't have the build quality of your Panasonics or your Reds or your Sonys. They just don't have that. So keep that in mind. And also, of course, unfortunately, no autofocus. If you can learn how to pull your own focus, it's actually going to benefit you in the long run. Switching to an autofocus system later actually makes sense after you've kind of understood, mastered a little bit of focus pulling yourself, because as good as autofocus is, trust me, there's going to be clutch situations where it simply doesn't work. A good example is low light. Even your best hybrid camera, your best mirrorless camera will focus on in low light. So anything that shoots 12-bit internal RAW is going to be more than capable of delivering for you. So future-proof for quite a while. 4K is more than enough. The last camera I want to talk about is actually a few different cameras, but I want to talk about used Red cameras. I actually own a Red MX. It's the Red 1 MX, which essentially is like the second camera that Red ever came out with. It's the first camera with the upgraded sensor, which is the MX sensor. I bought this camera a long time ago. I shot many feature films on it. It still runs today. It still produces amazing image quality. proprietary media. It won't shoot on a CFast card. It shoots on these red mags that are, they're not getting any younger as time goes on. These are really your only quite professional cameras on this list. I mean, you can get professional results with a Pocket 4K with a GH5s, but Red built these cameras for professional use. They've been used in major Hollywood films. They're basically, made for major production. And there's some trade-offs to that. Obviously, they're harder to use. They're usually built with the idea of having a crew around them as opposed to having a single operator. However, many people have rigged them out for single shooters. I don't recommend it, but it's definitely possible to do. What you're getting here is 12-bit internal RAW, which is simply astoundingly amazing. It's R3D files. It's introducing you to the Red workflow at a very affordable price. It's also showing you what a really true professional cinema camera looks like, how it operates. Everything is going to be heavier. Everything that's you're going to need a heavier tripod. You're going to need you're not going to be able to put this thing on a little lightweight slider dolly. I mean, there's definitely some drawbacks to it, but it's amazing that you can get a Hollywood level cinema camera for around $1,000, maybe $1,500 for a package. But if you look around on eBay or Adorama or KEH, you can find incredible deals on these systems. And they're high in hours, usually. They're very high in hours. The media is old. I get that. But, these things were really built to last. It's going to be a lot for if you're shooting a wedding or you're shooting something like that. But if you're really into making short film and cinematic content, frankly, you can't do better image quality wise. The Blackmagic, I think, is close. The Pocket 4K is close, but I still say even your older Reds, like your Red 1 or your Red Scarlet, it still beats it out. I mean, not by a lot, but it still does. I mean, it's full RAW. You can go from ISO 100 up to God knows what. In post. So it really is an amazing system. Okay, guys, so that's basically it. I mean, there's other cameras that I could have mentioned. There's plenty of other cameras. But I just say, these are three very capable systems, that you could pick up for a very reasonable cost. And I encourage you to do that if you're starting out. One of the worst things to do is to dump all of your money into the coolest IT camera of the moment, because it's not going to be the IT camera in about 6 months. It's going to be obsolete relatively fast. Unless there's a feature on a modern camera that's super crucial for your needs, really consider one of these older systems, because gear essentially is pretty much a losing proposition anyway. Gear is a good tax write-off. For me, I bought some of my cameras used. I bought some of my cameras new. I've never had a problem either way. But I know people have bought brand new cameras, updated the firmware and bricked them. So, I mean, anything can happen at any time. So when you're buying off eBay, you're buying off, like a stranger, that could be a little dicey. I would try to buy off someone who's going to give you some type of a warranty. Buy off Adorama or B&H or KEH camera, where they guarantee the quality. You can exchange it out or get your money back or whatever if it doesn't work or if it malfunctions in a certain amount of time. But really, those companies are pretty good about really battle testing their stuff. So you really shouldn't have any problems. And yeah, again, great way to save money. Great way to get out there on a shoestring, start shooting cinematic content. And yeah, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. I will see y'all later. Peace.